In a quick reintroduction of our guests this morning, we have Philip Magal and Professor Wajakoya. Now, we're looking at the independence of the judiciary and the legislature and whether the executive may be interfering. But also, of course, one of the things that we are looking at is Chief Justice David Maraga. Is he a hunted man, as mentioned in one of the dailies this morning? But let me just read some of your comments that are coming through. And before we took the break, we were looking at whether the risk that we have as a country, should there be interference. Babu Moja says that very soon we will know the reason why the Attorney General left after getting DK Maraga out of office. Githu will take over as CJ. I'm certain that plan will succeed. Well, that's his comment and his thoughts. We also have another tweet here. Well-calculated move to gag judiciary, backtracking towards dictatorship. There's also another tweet. Do we really need the entire Supreme Court? The guys who couldn't get a flight to Nairobi, causing lack of quorum at a crucial moment. We also have another tweet here. It's a good opportunity to clean up the judiciary of the rogue judges. So your thoughts, welcome via Twitter, but we'll also open up the phone lines, and you're welcome to call and weigh in and possibly let us know what your thoughts are. But Philip, before the break, the question here being, isn't the good lawyer, as one would call him, allowed to exercise his constitutional right? And if there are indeed reasons as to why the Judicial Service Commission and the Chief Justice and his deputy should be, sort of questioned, isn't he allowed within the law to do that? And he's using the right channel by going to court.
He is allowed to do that. And in fact, whatever channel is opted to use is that of checks and balance, in which case then the legislature will be holding the judiciary to account. And that is what, as Kenyans, we do want. What all these muzzling of parliament and the judiciary is meant to achieve is to concentrate power in the executive. And the question then that we ought to be asking ourselves is, why would the executive want to have all the powers? We know that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that is why it was deemed prudent to have checks and balances in the form of separation of powers. The legislature should be able to check the judiciary should be able to check the executive, so on and so forth. That is the only way we can hold those in power to account. Otherwise, power is prone to abuse. But then what we have is a situation whereby the legislature is more likely than not to dance to the tunes of the executive as far as this petition is concerned. And that is our worry. Our worry is not that the legislature has been petitioned. Our worry is that the legislature won't exercise its oversight role independently and objectively.
Professor, do you feel that the legislature, given the tune that we've seen them play so far, and given what we have seen unfold from the time it was constituted, may be compromised by the executive?
We can see Parliament as a team or a house of madmen and women at the moment. We just saw what happened to Keteri the other day, where Duale came up to stand to comment, to conduct or to command the House to vote in a particular way. If you look at Parliament, you'll find out that whatever their role is, that role is based on the Constitution. Voting by secret ballot is what is the precedent of the day. Man, when you see members of Parliament coming up and prefecting members of Parliament, other members of Parliament to vote in a particular way, by acclamation, show of hands, being called names, that means that we have gotten mayhem. And secondly, as I said before, the president has not come out to issue a public statement regarding whatever is going on. He has usurped up his role as the head of the executive. And thirdly and finally, we can see, and maybe a madman who has removed his clothes, who is walking in Mumia's market, can also make a difference by pointing a finger at these people. Look at the whole mayhem. Look at what's going on. Ask yourself, is this what I elected to be my member of Parliament? Judiciary is now under siege by a group of madmen and women who are sitting in a house dancing to the tunes of their masters. The president should come out and issue a statement. I'll keep on repeating myself, I don't know why, because I'm angry with whatever is going on.
All right, Philip, what are the chances, looking at it from now a legal perspective, of the judiciary actually, being under siege by virtue of that particular petition that has been launched?
We look at it. We have to look at it in the short term as well as in the long term. In the meantime, what this petition will achieve to do is to vilify and intimidate members of the judiciary. So far, they are feeling like they are under a lot of pressure, and some of them might buckle under that pressure. In the long term, of course, with the Jubilee enjoying a majority in the legislature and the way we've seen the executive marshal its wishes through the House of Parliament, there is a highly likelihood that an adverse report will come from the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, which will again be tabled in a partisan house and will go through, meaning therefore that the president will have his hand tied and will have to constitute or form a committee, which of course would be the final nail on Chief Maraga's coffin.
All right, now, just for the benefit of understanding how this would unfold and possibly how it would play out, for that to happen, there are certain things that have to happen between now and then.
Yes.
For instance, the formation of a tribunal.
Yes.
Take us through that process so that we can also just, with hindsight, remember where we are coming from and what is likely to be seen.
In simple terms, once this petition is presented before the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, they will have to deliberate on it and see whether it has substance. If it has substance, then they will have to make recommendations.
And what would constitute the substance? Because it's not just the word of the lawyer that would be enough to create substance.
Funny enough, with the legislature, these people, I don't think, really need to look at anything. It is basically, they are not judges. They are not called upon to use reason or give reasons for their decisions. Just the way they vetted the members of the cabinet the other day. They didn't really give us cogent reasons as to why they arrived at those decisions. And unlike a court of law, the Justice and Legal Affairs Committees won't be held to account as to how they did arrive at certain decisions, meaning therefore that they have a blank check to draw. And that gives them leeway to make or to give any recommendations they wish. And it is those recommendations which captured in a report that will then be passed on to the House, which of course is once again dominated by Jubilee or members who are affiliated to the executive, who once again will make a decision not based on reason, as there is nobody to hold them to account. And it is that decision that will again be passed on to the president as recommendations, who then has to form a tribunal, a tribunal which he will handpick, of course, depending what objectives he has in mind. And its report will in turn not, be independent.
Okay. Prof, the role of the opposition in this particular case, given that, first of all, they, with the vetting that was taking place, the vetting exercise, they boycotted as promised, and we have seen that every nominee basically made it through regardless of whether we felt that they were able or not. But this is another case where now we'd expect the opposition to be there to strengthen especially the decisions that are made in the legislature. Do you think that this is a point where they should rise up to the call?
I don't think so, because the opposition no longer, refuse to recognize the head of state. They don't recognize Uhuru as president. They have also chosen the other part of swearing in their own president, the people's president. And